September 12th, 1965. Dear Mama, Robert tells me that you are not well. I'm sorry to hear this, but I guess we're all lucky to have lived as long as we have. The many years you spent without proper clothing for the cold weather back east, with improper food, not enough food, and lack of expert medical attention is enough misfortune to leave the strongest person ill. You need to see a specialist. If we were not blacks and consequently poor, you would be able to enjoy the benefits of science. But you are probably seeing some disinterested, half-trained parasite who knows no more about your ailment or the curing of it than I do. Robert doesn't make enough in 2 years to allow you to get the best attention, that is, here in our present surroundings. His scope doesn't extend any farther than the boundaries of the U.S. Those lies and the propaganda he reads in Life, Reader's Digest, and Look have completely undressed his mind. I feel very sorry for all of you. I'm locked in a cell 24 hours a day, but I still know my potential. I still feel my strength. I still thumb my nose at the caveman, because my mind is still my own. No one can lie to me anymore. I know where my interest lies. For now, though, I'm going to be a good boy, as Robert and most of the blacks we see around us are all good boys. I'm going to smile, and I'm going to pretend to accept the small compensations they hand out in return for our soul and our freedom. I'm going to be a good boy and eat what is put before me. I'm going to do this so that I'll stay alive long enough to take care of you. You deserve a lot better than you have had and more than you will have. You don't know it, but there is a better life, regardless of what the Reader's Digest says. Believe me, there is a better life. Take care of yourself. George. October 3rd, 1965. Dear Robert, I have the typewriter in my possession here, so all is well. They didn't, however, produce the instruction book or paper. They let me have the 2 extra ribbons. I can get an instruction book. Paper isn't too much of a problem. All things considered, it turned out very well. You can take a chance if you care to on the shorthand book. Put it in an envelope like you say, but also write a letter stating right in front, in the first lines, that it is a shorthand book. Mail the letter and the book together. If they don't think it's some kind of cryptogram we have going, it may be allowed or overlooked. But you can't just leave it up to them to figure out what it is. That would be asking for too much. Just read in the Monitor that, quote, zero point 0.6 parts of insecticide to 1 billion parts of water will kill most all marine animals in salt water or fresh, end quote. Be sure to look into the course on speed reading. It costs 60 cents. I know it is a great help. It would be nice for me to have someone to talk to. Take care and keep your eyes open. George. November 7th, 1965. Dear Robert, nothing has changed. I'm still losing. I'm alive, though, so there's still the possibility. How is Georgia? Don't tell her anything about my condition. Note: the author had been put in isolation after being charged by the prison authorities with assault with a deadly weapon. End of note. It isn't necessary for you to reveal to her all that I tell you. She doesn't need to know. It can only worry her needlessly. I hope you are well. George. November 13th, 1965. Dear Mother, I am alive and well, and am at present working my way through the adjustment center here. It is an overall improvement in my condition. The prospects of getting out or getting a transfer to a more habitable prison are now better. I will relish the transfer part. All of the officers here have preconceived notions about my patterns of behavior now. Consequently, it is somewhat hard for me to avoid falling under suspicion for almost every misdeed perpetrated by a black. But no matter, if I do have to stay here, I am determined to circumvent the little traps. I sincerely hope your health is improving, or at least becoming no worse. I feel awful disconcerted that I am unable to render any assistance. However, I feel this inability is only temporary. I intend to surge back with a tenacity uncontainable in its relentlessness. Fortune must soon smile on me, because sincere effort is always rewarded. Nature allows no such imbalances as this. I am assured and completely self-possessed in the knowledge that all contradictions and conflicts must one day be resolved. Give my love to all the women there. Please take care of yourself. Love, George. December 23rd, 1965. Dear Mother, I got the food you sent me today. It was very nice and fills a real need. I almost didn't get it though. You see, we are supposed to send out a slip to the correspondent when we wish someone to send us something, and you are supposed to send the package with this slip you get from me as proof that you are an authorized correspondent. I didn't send the slip out this year because of the trouble it might involve for you, and the money could possibly have been better placed. I hope your health is improving. I am doing quite well in that respect, all things considered. You may not know me when you next see me. I find a few new gray hairs every time I look in the mirror. If I live to be 30, I guess it will be all white. I'll start writing John a couple of letters a week. If you would like me to, let me know. I will tell him as much of the truth as is advisable in one of these letters. But if you don't feel that what I represent is correct for him, then I'll refrain. How old is he now? I guess I'll be getting a transfer or going out to the main population soon. A couple of months more of this and I think they will let up on me. About parole, I can't say, but I am not alone. I don't feel so distressed when I look around me and see others like myself experiencing the same thing. The uniformity of our condition seems to lend support to each of us. I don't think the administrators fully understand. I have the strangest feeling that they may not understand how this atmosphere they foster nurtures a mindless, hopeless mass. It is suicidal incompetence. The strong can afford to be incompetent or wrong sometimes without loss of face. Even the mightiest and most capable of men are only human. But he who attributes to himself omnipotence must never be wrong. For once a weakness is found, no matter how small, in one who claims omnipotence, he is completely exposed. The fall from omnipotence ends only with insignificance. May this new year coming be your year, our year. Take care. Love, George. December 29th, 1965. Dear Robert, the photographs were nice. Penny sent me one of her baby also. I thought him very beautiful. Send me her address. Also send Dolores. Dolores looks well. Tell her I love her and that the baby looks just like her. She has 2 babies now, hasn't she? I'm an uncle 3 times. John should be the main concern now. By now you should have seen enough to know how to proceed with his development. He doesn't look too healthy to me. He looks thin, pale, and soft. Those weights would improve his circulation and make his veins stand out. If he works out in the backyard in the sun every evening, in a year he could be a paragon. He needs that, and he needs to be told the truth. He can get these things only from you. That school won't teach him anything except possibly a few Latin prayers. But if you haven't caught up, nothing I can say in this letter will help. Don't forget, I've been over the road he is straining on now. Maybe it is a little different now with him. You can afford to give him bikes and baseball gloves. But the loose living thing is going to seem awfully exciting to him in a few years when he compares it against the artificial world of those Catholics. I'm doing all right here, I guess. You take it easy. George. January 1st, 1966. Dear Robert, I received your gratifying letter. Was it an expression of your love, an indication of your gracious sympathy for the position we were both born into, and that I am presently feeling the cramping convulsions of? I got the money. If I feel like a burden to you, it is best that we suspend exchanges until I've struggled on back to my feet. You probably don't feel that you owe me anything, and I guess you don't, since you have accepted the values and customs of these people we live among. In that light, I owe to you the unquestionable honor of my struggle within this American dream. What can I say to you, my friend? I've been wondering if it would be best to lie to you and hide myself, say only what I know so well that you like to hear. I hesitate to do this because you have been lied to so much already. To add to this may be my last and greatest and most unpardonable crime against you. You are the older of the two of us. You are a man in your way, and there is much merit in the manner you have conducted yourself these last 25 years. To have lived through the period of your early youth is in itself a qualifier for respect. The following shocks and strains were surely enough to drive the strongest man to distraction. All the honor that you are due I freely give. However, we, the humble representatives of the future generations, have at our disposal all the accumulated knowledge and experiences of all past generations to build our thoughts. I have made no mark as yet, to be sure, but why is it that we cannot communicate? What is it that bars our efforts to exchange thoughts and ideas? The fault could lie in my presentation. If so, I will make every effort to correct my deficiency, because it is to the interest of us both that we meet on the same level. Can you understand that a meeting of the minds will have to precede any advancement of our combined fortunes? The question is whether we will be able to overcome the malicious efforts and forces that divide us, and be able to put group interests before personal petty prejudices and preconceived notions. Or will we all end by turning our backs on each other and going our way in anger? I'm tired, my friend. Real tired. I've got a pain deep in my stomach, and I'm tired pretending that the obvious doesn't exist, and that this is the best of all possible lives. It is not, and if a concentrated effort isn't made to finally learn and use the lessons set forth in history, unthinkable chaos will result. I know that it probably will not come true, but may this be your year, our year, to realize the promise that being born a man brings. George. February 23rd, 1966. Dear Mama, I have been hoping that you would write and acknowledge my last letter. I hope it doesn't worry you too much that I will not be considered for release for some time yet. It worries me enough. I hope your health gets no worse at least. I'll be with you as soon as I can. I've got some clean time in now already and plan to do as well for the rest of this year so that in December they will let me go. They have promised me this anyway. I don't put any confidence whatever in what they say, but the hope remains. I am in the main population now. I was released from the adjustment center lockup today because of good conduct and have a good program set up for me, one conducive to parole consideration. I have learned something by the experience, never again to look for mercy, never again to expect or hope for justice, never to look for quarter without strings being attached. The last illusion has been shattered. I know the way from here. Ask no quarter of fate and give none. That thing you mentioned concerning Francis has had me perturbed for a week. Some just are not going to make it. Some of us have just slipped too far to ever get back. This guy, I promise you, will be sorry a long, long time. Right here, at this juncture of time, we as a people have nothing, absolutely nothing but each other, some fresh air, the blue and gold of day and silver at night, a clean conscience, and the promise of cloudless days to come. But some do not enjoy these things enough, don't understand the nature of our circumstances, and commit unpardonable crimes, unnatural crimes that must, in the end, bar them from partaking in the benefits of the liberation that is planned for tomorrow. In the end, a requiem will be sung over the whole vast complex of disorder. Please inform me of any new developments there. Help John to become a man. Fare you well, George. March 3rd, 1966. Dear Mama, always good to hear from you, though it makes me sad to know that you are not well. Just hold on, though, and circumstances will take a definite turn for the better. No ifs or ands about this. The way lies open for us. I'm not just talking or hoping. I know there is a better life for us. I know what there is to be had, and of all there is to be had, I plan to claim for us the lion's share. You are right, of course, in what you contend. The black woman has, in the past few hundred years, been the only force holding us together and holding us up. She has absorbed the biggest part of the many shocks and strains of existence under a slave order. The men can think of nothing more effective than pimping, gambling, or petty theft. I've heard men brag about being pimps of black women and taking money from black women who are on relief. Things like this I find odious, disgusting. You are right. The black men have proven themselves to be utterly detestable and repulsive in the past. Before I would succumb to such subterfuge, I would scratch my living from the ground on hands and knees, or die in a hail of bullets. My hat goes off to every one of you. You have my profoundest respect. I have surrendered all hope of happiness for myself in this life to the prospect of effecting some improvement in our circumstances as a whole. I have a plan. I will give and give and give of myself until it proves our making or my end. The men of our group have developed as a result of living under a ruthless system, a set of mannerisms that numb the soul. We have been made the floor mat of the world, but the world has yet to see what can be done by men of our nature, by men who have walked the path of disparity, of regression, of abortion, and yet come out whole. There will be a special page in the book of life for the men who have crawled back from the grave. This page will tell of utter defeat, ruin, passivity, and subjection in one breath, and in the next, overwhelming victory and fulfillment. So take care of yourself and hold on. Love, George. March 20th, 1966. Dear Mama, we have to order books from a bookstore owned by one of the staff here. It is contrary to institution policy for someone to send us books from outside. This is the rule, the law, so I guess it cannot be helped. Situations of this type are what this country is built on, the wonderful system that made it great. I've read as much St. Augustine as I could stomach. If you don't know about him and Jerome, Leibniz, and the rest of that lunatic fringe yet, my love, you are hurting. Why do you say things like that to me? You know how I feel about those people. You know that I am completely aware of all of them. I can never be deceived again by them. I know their awesome capacity for evil. I'm a victim of it now. That Pope Pius VII, the guy you let us pray for, gave Mussolini his blessing as he was about to embark upon his misadventure in Ethiopia. I could give you thousands of examples of this type. I have explained my feeling to you many, many times, so I won't go any further with this. If children being blown out of this existence while attending church services, men being lynched for a gesture, colonialism, the Inquisition, and H-bombs haven't affected you, nothing I say here can help you. If you could live my life 1 week and see the things I see, feel the pain I feel, and die a little bit each day as I do, all your illusions and apparitions would vanish. You talk to me like I was born yesterday, like I was still a little boy. All my life now you have told me about European gods and European Christians who are supposed to be knowledgeable. When do you plan to say something that will help me? You may not know any better. If not, I am wrong in saying what I have. But I find it hard to admit that my mother could be so insensitive to the truth. You disrespect me, Mama, when you talk to me like that. It's like you saying to me, George, you're a fool. You do not have eyes to see, ears to hear, and a brain to interpret. So I'll tell you any kind of outrageous story. Ordinary people, the mediocre, need to feel or believe in something greater than themselves. It gives them false security and makes them feel that help may be forthcoming. This is self-delusion in the extreme. I cannot partake in any foolishness. Do you want me to be mediocre like the rest of the herd? When I need strength, Mama, I reach down within myself. I draw out the reserves I've built, the necessary endurance to face down my opposition. I call on myself. I have faith in myself. This is where it must always come from in the end. Yourself. I place no one and nothing above myself. What any man has done before me, I can do. If there is a God, Mama, he hates me, and I'll have to resist what he or it is doing to us. All my life, Mama, I've had to work things out for myself. I've had help from no quarter. I've been alone now for a long time. This is why I've had so much pain and trouble. Robert gave me nothing. You gave me God and that horrible church. Even God managed to take something away from me. I have nothing left but myself. Love, George. April 17th, 1966. Dear Mama, I received your card. Nice of you to think of me on Easter. Getting that card sure made me feel a lot better. You know how important Easter is to me. Are you any better? Have you resolved the insurance problem? Don't worry too much about these things. Solutions cause new and sometimes even worse problems to spring up. All of our difficulties will never be worked out. I guess perhaps this existence is merely a constant choosing of the lesser evil. Penny came to see me last week. I recall a time when all she wanted was to get away from the family group. But now that she's on her own, she didn't want to talk about anything else but you and the past. She is devoted to you. She is a sweet, well-balanced, and wonderful woman, deserving of much more than this life here offers us. But the weather is fine here, plenty of sun lately. I exercise in the sun an hour every day. I'm getting very big and very black. Fare you well, George. May 8th, 1966. All is well here. I'm going to night school again, and have encountered no trouble of late. Are you well? They say that today is Mother's Day. I can't make much sense out of it, though. I love mine every day. But these guys around me here seem to like being told when to celebrate this and that. So should you also feel this way, let me acknowledge the custom and wish you as pleasant a Mother's Day as is possible under our circumstances. Take care of yourself. Love, George. September 9th, 1966. Dear Mama, hope you are better. The typewriter is being repaired, so this comes by hand. We are in agreement on many things. All is as well as it is possible to be between two who are human and subject to human error. You have done much for me, and I am sincerely in your debt. Your returns will be soon forthcoming. That which you didn't do, I never expected, for you are after all a woman and think as a woman should. The attitudes and methods that I have developed on my own have no reflection on you, but on the nature of our life circumstances and situational pressures. Is John in health? I have some pictures of you on your trip back east. You surely look well and unchanged. I go to the board in December, and as I have stated before, I have met all of their terms. My release is almost assured. What is Penny's new address? I will send her a letter on her birthday and discuss things as they are said to be, and as they really are. She must be having a pretty bad time. That guy seems to be pretty Anglo-Americanized. Take care of yourself. Love, George. September 16th, 1966. Dear Mama, I wish you many happy returns in the birthday department. It sounds pretty empty, I know, but that's all I have to offer right now. A wish. I have broad plans for the future, though. A large villa for you in the Maldive Islands, with an extra deep bomb shelter. All is the same here. Each day that comes and goes is like the one before. Being a good boy, going to church, reading about the saints, and getting good ratings on my job for the proper attitudes. Are you well? Are you getting any of the pleasant things that life in these United States offers? That reminds me of a thing I read recently concerning China. One of the top political leaders came to an elementary school to lecture. They take education pretty seriously. He told the children to put their heads on the desk and pray to God for ice cream. After 15 minutes of serious and sincere effort, all the children lost interest and grew restive. He then told them to pray to him in the party for ice cream. whereupon a few minutes later they raised their heads from the desk and found, guess what? Ice cream. Isn't that disgusting, Mama, to distort the thinking of children like that? Now, how is John? How much does he weigh? You don't say much about the folks in the Midwest. Are they well? Take care of yourself. Love, George. September 25th, 1966. Dear Robert, what has happened to Penny? Is she having troubles with her man? You were going to send me her address. Have you forgotten? I have been trimming down my weight some. More exercise and less food. I'm getting ready for December. I don't want to stand out. I must fit in with the rest of the herd and look as ordinary as possible. I want my system to grow accustomed to little or no food at all without it causing me the normal distress that it causes others. You would be surprised how little food an adult really needs. I went for 2 weeks on nothing but 3 slices of bread and 1 tumbler of water a day without noticeable loss mentally or physically. Are you well, my friend? Glad to hear you are becoming interested in things of the mind. The school idea is truly out of the ordinary. Most others of your caste and peer group have given up. There are 2 or 3 things that I would like to take, but cannot take them here in prison. Language, Chinese and Arabic, electronics, and chemicals. Maybe I'll get out next year, and if I still feel the inclination, I'll buy a few courses. Take care of yourself. George. October 20th, 1966. Dear Robert, just received your letter of October 15th. Good to hear that John is well, and that your studies are coming along. I wanted to exhaust the possibilities of getting that free course in drafting here. I wanted to know if I was going to remain here in this prison at least until board before I asked you to put yourself out in sending it. Well, it is conclusive that I will not be able to take it here. The school is carrying the course, but there is no room for folks like me. Just right now. Maybe next year. I have found conclusively that I will not be transferred either. So, my friend, if you will, and whenever you can, send the course from LaSalle. I will be able to finish much sooner than you think. My math is excellent, and I have nothing but time. I'll suspend my other endeavors in deference to the speedy and satisfactory completion of this course. Upon closer examination of all the facts involved in my doing something like this in here, I also find that plastic tools are not necessary. I can have and use anything necessary for the course. LaSalle sends all of these tools right along with the course, so things are not as complicated as I thought them at first to be. Very likely I will be given a parole date this year. If so, or perhaps to increase the possibility, I should have a job offer here on record. You could correspond with some machine shops or the like right now and tell them that I have completed or am just about to complete an accredited course in drafting, and I need a statement from them on record here to be released. Don't worry about me not being prepared by them. I have thought everything out, but any offer from almost any area will suffice to get me out. If you are not able to get someone to send me in a job offer, then there should be a lengthy statement here on record that you are willing to support me while I go to school. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I have to have something on record for the board to gain the impression all is secure financially for my release. It may be less difficult just to state officially that I am going to school and that you plan to pay my way completely through it upon my release. We must decide now what will be said for their benefit upon this matter now. Let me know in your next letter which will be easier for you to do. Get me a job offer or state that our plans include school with your full backing. Send it to the Department of Corrections in Sacramento. Take care of yourself. George. December 2nd, 1966. Dear Robert, the typewriter is being repaired again. Never buy a plastic typewriter. Though good for some things, plastic is too flexible for that type of machinery. It keeps the parts out of trim. I received your letter, and nothing that develops from this mess will surprise me. I have taken all possibilities into account in advance. I have nothing going for me, and any good or favorable turn of events will be only luck, good fortune. You don't really think that I mind not being liked by them, do you? I sincerely feel that it is a tribute to my character that they do not. I said what I did only to help you understand my position, and in turn understand any future action I may undertake. But I don't want you to trouble your mind or lose any sleep about the seriousness of my position either. When things become too hard for everyone else, that's when I start enjoying myself. Just understand, in the light of future events, that I am guided by necessity and that my needs are different than yours. The board meets during the last few days of the month. Take care of yourself, my friend. George. December 3rd, 1966. Dear Robert, I am worried about Penny. Does she write you? Have you let her know that should she need a refuge or a strong arm, she can find them in her father? Women need to know these things. It is tormenting to them to know that they are alone, can look to no quarter for string-free aid. If Penny felt that she had no choice in the matter, no help, she would accept ill treatment forever. But then an offer of help must seem freely and honestly given to be of value. Are you well, my friend? The climate here is terrible, and I am not talking about the weather. Each day is a trial. I stay close to my cell these days, reading, working on my book. Take care of yourself. George. January 3rd, 1967. Dear Mama, I have at least another 14 or 18 months to do. Of course, I could do the rest of my life here, not taking into account a possible change in the system of government and economics, a change of hands, that is. They gave me no consideration at the board, the same people that gave me their promise last year. I was not surprised. I was completely prepared for this. Take care of yourself. George. January 12th, 1967. Dear Mama, your letter was well received. It left me feeling better than I have felt for years. I have never felt as close to any human as I do to you now. Your thoughts mirror mine exactly. Why have you left me alone to my struggle so long? I know the answer to this must be that we hesitate to reveal or acknowledge the existence of ugliness to the ones we love, even though the knowledge of such may better equip them to resist the effects of evil. I am going into my 7th year here. I have learned as much as I possibly could in this time. I have studied myself closely. I have studied people, human and inhuman, wanting to know and understand. I am given to understand that it is the strong who rule the weak, but in turn the wise rule over the strong. So you see that I recognize the value of what you have stated concerning faith and wisdom. What is happening to me here, what has happened, what will happen, can never surprise or upset me again. My nerves have been fractured, my sensibilities outraged for the last time. It's all a matter of course to me now. My outlook is clear, and the future holds no more terrors for me. Just existing, life without joy, without real meaning, does not appeal to me at all. I am very tired of waking up each morning wondering if I will be worked for nothing again today, or wondering if I will be insulted, humiliated, injured, or even done to death today. There are a few things that I must be decisive about, a few things that I know to be so. Then, there are things which my faith tells me could possibly be so. I have faith in the fact that we, the majority of peoples, 5 to 1 on earth, can live with and complement each other's existence if we rid the earth of the barbarous influence spread by this inhuman, unnatural minority. My faith in life holds still to the principle that we men of color will soon make a harmonious world out of this chaotic travesty of facts. But first, we must destroy the malefactor and root out all of his ideals, moralities, and institutions. It is to this end that I have long since dedicated myself, to extinguish forever the lights of a perverted science in any way that I can, by any and all means. To accomplish this, we can no longer woo false gods or invoke half measures. Please understand that though I will miss you and all the others, though I love you dearly, I do not want to live in this world as it is. I do not think of myself as one small person among so many. I know what I can do. I know I can build and cause things to happen, but I also can be hurt. L is my closest consort, a true friend, the most trustworthy man I have ever met. This is saying a lot. Believe me, trust is a difficult thing to build between men brought up under Anglo-American or Western cultures. I learned much from him. He is also tired of seeing himself through the eyes of others on Amos and Andy and I Spy. This individual comes to you with my highest recommendation. He will help me. You help him to help me. His intelligence and character are unquestionable. George. January 23rd, 1967. Dear Robert, I tried to write several times these last couple of weeks, but my letters all came back with a note attached explaining what I can and cannot say. Have you been well? How old are you now, Pop? Where were you and what were you doing when you were my age? 25? I'll bet you were not doing too much better than I am now. You probably were not in prison. Well, I know you were not. But was your standing socially and economically speaking any better than mine? I guess it was, since you at last had limited freedom of movement. I have none here. Although I would very much like to get out of here in order to develop a few ideas that have occurred to me, although I would not like to leave my bones here on the hill, if it is a choice between that and surrendering the things that make me a man, the things that allow me to hold my head erect and unbowed, then the hill can have my bones. Many times in the history of our past, I speak of the African here in the U.S., many times we were presented with this choice. Too many times, too many of us choose to live the crippled existence of the near man, the half man. Well, I don't care how long I live. Over this I have no control, but I do care about what kind of life I live, and I can control this. I may not live but another 5 minutes, but it will be 5 minutes definitely on my terms. George. January 31st, 1967. Dear Francis, sorry to have neglected you for so long. Things are very complicated for me here. I stay very busy all of the time. I never have enough time to do the things that I must. I have made inroads into political economy, geography, forms of government, anthropology, archaeology, and the basics of 3 languages, and when I can get hold of them, some of the works on urban guerrilla warfare. I can use some assistance on the language aspect, though. Next time you pass a bookstore, Ask about a book dealing with Swahili, a self-teaching Swahili book. Get the proper title and the publisher's name, and also a good self-teaching book on Arabic. Last year, Mama suggested that a lawyer could possibly help me out of here by sitting in and representing me at the board. I wish I had gone along with it. A couple of people have gotten out like that. There is a lady lawyer up here in San Francisco who specializes in that. She says $1,000 in her hand, several months before the board, is all that is required to get a date if a person has his minimum in. My minimum is 1 year, so I've got 7 times more than necessary. Talk to Robert about this. If she doesn't get a client out, she returns his money. If Robert borrowed it and got me out, I would of course return it. If I don't get a new sentence for the stuff I am locked up for now, that is what we must do. Just discuss it with Robert for now. I'll let you know in a few months if you should take definite steps in that direction. First, I must ascertain whether or not they plan to fix me with the blame for these recent events. I must now start doing all that is humanly possible to get out of prison. I can see great ill forecast for me if I don't find some way to extract myself from these people's control. If we must die, let it not be like hogs, hunted and pinned in an inglorious spot, while around us bark the mad and hungry dogs, making their mock at our accursed lot. If we must die, then let us nobly die, so that our precious blood may not be shed in vain. Then even the monsters we defy shall be constrained to honor us, though dead. We kinsmen must meet the common foe. Though far outnumbered, let us show us brave, and for their 1,000 blows deal 1 death blow. What though before us lies the open grave? Like men will face the murderous pack, pressed to the wall, dying, but fighting back. I don't mind dying, but I'd like to have the opportunity to fight back. Take care, George. February 1st, 1967. Dear Mother, things are normal here. The usual turmoil. I hope you are well. I hope you are doing enough light exercise each day to work up some perspiration and not eating the wrong things. Pork, sugar, white bread, etc. I'm very careful in this respect and enjoy almost perfect health and great reserves of energy and strength in spite of my circumstances. But I do heavy exercises, maybe 2 hours worth a day, every day, in closed confinement, where I cannot get to any workout facilities. As now, I work out somewhat differently. I take neat piles of books and magazines tied together and exercise with them. For you, I imagine some deep knee bends, touch your toes, and say some push-ups would be fine. You would do 5 sets of 10 of each exercise. For example, start by doing 10 push-ups. Rest a minute or two, do 10 more. Rest a few minutes, etc., until you get to 5 sets. Then go to the next exercise. Stay young and firm that way. Resistance to body disorder stays high or builds up. You know, when they locked me up this time, all my personal property came up missing. I'll have to replace everything. 2 personal chess sets, toilet articles, the black sweatshirts. I had 4 of these, but saved only the one I had on. Even the plastic tumblers I used to drink with in the cell, everything is gone. I'm not sure about the typewriter. I can't get any information on it. I know that I don't have it here. Whether it is safe somewhere else, I don't know. Then, too, several of us blacks were locked up at the same time for just about the same thing. They go to the small adjustment center yard each day for 2 hours. I am forced to remain in my cell. No fresh air, no sun. 24 hours a day in here. It doesn't bother me though. I've trained myself not to be disorganized by any measure they take against me. I exercise in here and pursue my studies. That fills my day out nicely. Since I know that I am the original man and will soon inherit this earth, I am content to just prepare myself and wait. Nothing can stop me now, but I do sometimes wonder just exactly how they got the way they are. I know beyond question the extent of the evil that lurks in their hearts. I see the insane passion inherent in their characters to dominate all that they come in contact with. What aggressive psychosis impels a man to want his dessert and mine too? To want to feast at every table, to want to cast his shadow over every land. I don't know what they are. Some folks call them devils, doers of evil. I don't know if this is an adequate description. It goes much deeper. From their footprints, I see that they are descendants of Pithecanthropus erectus, like ourselves, but here the similarity ends. I refuse to compare myself with a man who for one truth will tell 99 lies, with a vampire who cannot stand in the sun and do a day's work, and with someone who thrives upon the blood, sweat, and tears of any who fall within his power. But doomsday is dawning. On this most awesome day, all imbalances and contradictions must be resolved, and there will be some of us who will be left to rebuild this world and people these lands with the civil men. George. March 1967. Dear Mother, I guess Robert told you what happened to me here. My comrades have prevailed upon me to desist for a time, but I must decide for myself. In any event, I won't lose my head. This is a terrible price to pay just to stay alive, or I should say just to exist. I have never really lived. You know, I've grown very, very tired of talking and listening to talk. King and his kind have betrayed our bosom interests with their demagogic delirium. The poor fool knows nothing of the antagonist's true nature, and has not the perception to read and learn by history and past events. In a nonviolent movement, there must be a latent threat of eruption, a dormant possibility of sudden and violent action if concessions are to be won, respect gained, and the established order altered. That nonviolent theory is practicable in civilized land among civilized peoples, the Asians and Africans, but a look at European history shows that anything of great value that ever changed hands was taken by force of arms. I cannot let my feelings become involved. I must not fall victim to a play of emotions because it would limit my ability to act in my defense. You know the world. The depressed peoples of the world are very shortly going to grow tired of being wooed and lulled into passivity and quiet endurance by chromium and neon lights. The soft music from the many well-placed public address loudspeakers and car radios will no longer serve as balm to the thwarted hopes, defeated aims, and brutal suppression of needed change. They'll come out of their coma with a bloodlust and justified indignation for social injustice that will sweep the asphalt right from under the empire builders. This is the only reason I hang on. I want to be in the vanguard. My cell partner puts it this way: every sickness ain't death, every goodbye ain't gone, and every big man ain't strong. I say, let Rome and Tiber melt, and the wide arch of the ranged empire fall, and the jungle is still the jungle, be it composed of trees or skyscrapers, and the law of the jungle is bite or be bitten. Take care, son. March 26th, 1967. Dear Mama, Papa, note, George Davis, the author's grandfather, end note, has had the true release, and at last the clasp of peace. For him to have received this at such a great age and without violence is no small consolation. I loved him dearly, and thought of him as one of our most practical and level-headed kin. You probably don't remember the long walks and talks Papa and I used to take, or the long visits when he lived on Lake Street and we lived on Warren, but I remember. He used to say things probably just thinking out loud, sure that I wasn't listening or would not comprehend, but I did, and I think I know him better than most. Do you remember how I used to answer, "What?" to every question put to me, and how Papa would deride me for this? He later, in the course of our exchanges, taught me to answer questions with "Why?" instead of "What?" Another of our games helped me greatly with my powers of observation. When we would walk, he told me to always look at the large signboards as deeply as possible, and after we had passed one, he would make me recite all that was on it. I would never remember as much detail as he, but I did win a kind word or two on occasion. We played this same game at his house, with pictures and objects spread out on the table or bed. I wish he could have survived to see and enjoy the new world we planned to create from this chaos. If I could have gotten out of here last year, he would never have gone out on sardines and crackers. I don't know how anyone else views the matter and don't care, but now for me he is one more voice added to the already thunderous chorus that cry from their unmarked and unhallowed graves for vindication. Don't wait for me to change or modify my attitudes in the least. I cannot understand, as you put it, or as you would have me understand. I'm a man, you are a woman. Perhaps you actually like walking at the heel of another, or otherwise placing yourself beneath another, but for me this is despicable. I refuse to even attempt to understand why I should debase myself or concede or compromise any part, the smallest part of anything on earth, to anyone who is not of my kind in thought and form. I love you, Mama, but I must be frank. Why did Papa die alone and hungry? Why did you think me insane for wanting a new bicycle instead of the old one I stole piece by piece and put together? Why did you allow us to worship at a white altar? Why? Even now, following tragedy after tragedy, crisis after crisis, do you still send John to that school where he is taught to feel inferior? And why do you continue to send me Easter cards? This is the height of disrespect you show me. You never wanted me to be a man, nor John either. You don't want us to resist and defeat our enemies. What is wrong with you, Mama? No other mama in history has acted the way you act under stress situations. I won't be a good boy ever. Love, George.